Hey everybody and welcome back to another video on this channel. My name is Silly Billy, but you can call me Billy. This is part 3, or I guess not really part 3 because you don't need the other 2 parts to understand this video, but this is part 3 of the bracket videos I'm going to do, and today we are looking at the final generation of characters that we haven't covered yet, which are the Ridonculous Race characters. Like the previous time, I have this randomly generated bracket of 32 contestants, and for this list, I only counted the people that are new to the Ridonculous Race. So that means Owen, Noah, Jeff, and poor old Leonard are not included in this ranking. All the other 32 characters are here, and I feel so happy because look how perfectly this bracket is filled up. No longer do we need any empty spaces. But then again, that also means that we have a lot of people to talk about. So I'm going to get to the good stuff. I'm not gonna linger around most of the brackets for too long, although expect the first round to be longest because, well, that's the round in which I need to discuss everybody. Anyway, we have 32 people to cover and I just want to get ahead with it. So let's start with round 1. And our first battle is going to be Jose versus Stephanie. And immediately we hit a hard one. I think I have said this line every single video. Like, for some reason, there's always a battle between 2 great characters in the first round. And with Jose versus Stephanie, this is no different. Jose is a fantastic villain. Jose is super frantic, and I love the personalization that Jose gets. Like, there's a lot of flaws to this character that are not really explored with other Total Drama villains. But then again, Stephanie is really funny, and the way that she is... Is Stephanie a villain? Maybe in some regard, not to the other contestants, but definitely to Ryan. Anyway, Stephanie and Jose are both very funny in the way that they are completely over the top insane. There's no argument there. But if I have to choose one, then I think Jose is the better character of these 2. Purely because Jose is explored far more beyond her evilness. This is a very tough battle, and Jose takes the win deservingly, I think. Then we have... I don't know. Wait, let me look that up quickly. Oh, drama, Mickey and Jay. Who is who? Mickey is the one with the helmet. Okay, so Jay versus Mary. I believe I got that right. What kind of a bracket is this? I mean, neither of these are going to win. Spoiler alert, Jose is going to kick the other out of this race anyway, but neither of these 2 are really enjoyable. I mean, Mary's only in 4 episodes and she doesn't say a whole lot in those, and Jay is just very annoying. So is Mickey. Out of these 2, who do I go for? I think Jay, because he gets a little more development. It doesn't really matter which one I pick here, because Jose is easily going to kick butt here. Then we have Emma versus Jen. Obviously, it's going to be Emma, but I want to take a moment to appreciate Jen, because I think Jen is a hilarious character that really feels like one of the mainstays in the show when I'm watching it. Like, I expected Jen to make it a lot further than she actually did. And same goes for Tom, which we will see in a couple of rounds. Anyway, it's unfortunate that Jen doesn't get more screen time. And obviously, Emma does get a lot of screen time. So purely on screen time alone, Emma would make it. But screen time is not the only thing I'm going to look at, of course, because then it would just be the character that would be in it for the longest. But Jen is a great character. I really enjoyed her dynamic with Tom. Both are very fun characters. But Emma is also a very good character. So obviously this one goes to Emma. Then we have Miles versus Crimson. This is Crimson, I think. I think Miles is funny, but Crimson is funnier. And I can be annoyed by Crimson, because Crimson has a lot of humor where the joke is simply, oh, normal people can't make it, but Crimson isn't normal, so she can. And we are not going to explain you why, it just is. But anyway, she still has some great moments in the show, so she has to beat out Miles. I think the vegans are another one of those duos that get a lot of screen time in the first few episodes that they're in, suggesting that they will be mainstays of the show, while ultimately they get eliminated pretty quickly on. But Miles, in the few episodes that she's in, has a great arc. I laughed a lot watching these 2 struggle to stay vegan and also stay in the race. But no, Crimson wins this. Then we have Spud versus MacArthur. I'm gonna go with MacArthur, though I am annoyed by both of these characters. Both have their ups and downs. Let's start with Spud, because Spud is basically more of a dog than he's actually a human contestant in the show. And Spud has some very funny moments. I think the idea that this guy is so let's call it lazy, that even his pain reactions are delayed. I don't know who came up with that, but I applaud you because that is comedy in my book. But then again, it's also oftentimes annoying to watch him, especially when he is oblivious to how the show is going.
We're in 9th place? Yeah. All right, we're killing it.
Like, you don't want a character in the show that doesn't care about the show you're watching. Now we have MacArthur, who can be very annoying. While watching, I thought that I was gonna be the one that was not going to like this character, the sassiness of her, and others would adore her. But my opinion seems to actually be a lot more positive about her than other people, because there are people that really don't like MacArthur, and I can see why. MacArthur has all the bad points that characters like Sugar and Owen also have. But then again, MacArthur has a great dynamic with Sanders, and I think that's what pulls her ahead here. MacArthur can be a very irritating character to watch, especially when she's bossing and bullying Sanders, but their dynamic can also be very great, and because of that, I'm going to continue with Sanders. Then we have Dwayne versus Jerry. I mean, Jerry is very funny, but Jerry is only in the show for 3 episodes. Meanwhile, Dwayne is absolutely hilarious. I think Dwayne might be one of the funniest characters in this entire show. And he gets to be in, let me say this from the top of my head, I believe 18 episodes?
Ding dong, you're wrong.
And in every single episode, Dwayne is great. And Jerry is funny for the time that he gets to be in the show, but nowhere does it warrant beating Dwayne. Dwayne is absolutely hilarious. I love Dwayne. Then we have Tom versus Ryan. I think this is a hard one, because for Tom, the same things apply that apply for Jen as well. Tom, in my opinion, is even a little bit funnier than Jen. I liked his whole arc with the fez, and I thought of the two, Tom was more frantic, and I really enjoyed Tom's time on the show. But then we have Ryan, who not only can be very funny, but is also a great character overall. He has great development, he has a great dynamic with Stephanie, but he also gets great development with other teams, which is something that the show can often have a large lack of. And having Ryan be the character that unites the best friends with the daters, I think it's great. Besides, a small point is that I really like Ryan's design. This guy is insanely huge. Like, it's this is getting ridiculous at this point. Look at how big this boy is. Anyway, I just really like Ryan, but don't expect every character that makes it further than another character to automatically get farther. I know that that is what's going on at the moment, but I don't think it will happen for everybody. Then we have Kitty versus Taylor. Yeah, the pattern is continuing because, of course, Taylor's not going to win, and especially not from Kitty. Then we have Kelly versus Ennui. Out of the two goths, I think that Ennui is the funnier of the two. And Kelly has great moments in the show. I don't get why Kelly gets a lot of hate. Taylor I can understand, because not a lot of people like the bratty characters. But Kelly, that's kind of undeserved, because Kelly gets a great comeback towards the end. She gets to put Taylor in her place. Like, Kelly is great, but Ennui is funnier. So I'm gonna give it to Ennui. Then we have Pete versus Rock. Okay, it's really starting to look like every character who makes it further than the other one is continuing, because I'm gonna give this one to Rock. I think Rock is a very underrated character. I don't know if this is true, but I don't see a lot of people talking about Rock. I think it's weird, because Rock is so likable. He's such an endearing character in the way that he's basically fighting a 2-man army on his own. Spud is the absolute worst partner to be placed in this show. Rock is able to get them about halfway, which is really impressive considering that he's doing it on his own. So Rock is... I really like Rock. And no, I know what you're thinking. I am not going to let somebody win purely on the argument of I really like X. I'm not going to spoil anything about the order just yet, but that is not what's going to happen this time around. No. Then we have Chet versus Elodie, I believe. Yeah, same argument for with Mary. I mean, anybody could beat these two guys. Mary and Elodie are the two single most bland characters of the Ridonculous Race, purely because they don't really contribute anything. They have, in my opinion, 2 funny scenes, which is the cab ride and the part on the beach, both of which are the episodes in which you get eliminated. Furthermore, these two don't contribute anything. Meanwhile, Chet is pretty funny. I like the stepbrothers, and I like the fact that they got to stick around a little after they become best buds. They don't get eliminated immediately upon that happening. So that's something I'm glad we got that too. Then we have Junior versus Jacques. This is not a contest, this is Jacques. And that's not because Junior is a bad character, because Junior is exactly what Dwayne needs in order for Dwayne to become funny. Like, Dwayne on his own would work, but not as well without Junior. But Jacques is just hilarious. Jacques is one of, if not the best villain of this show. And Heather is the best written villain of the show, but most enjoyable villain is the Ice Dancer duo. So of course it gotta go to Jacques. Jacques is fantastically fun. Then we have Tammy versus Sanders. Tammy versus Sanders. Oh, Tammy. I don't get why Tammy gets so much hate. I mean, there's only 2 episodes where she's in, so that's not really a basis to hate anybody on. But the characters that don't make it very far seem to get a lot of hate anyway. The same was true with Stacy, so I guess I'm very indifferent about Tammy. And Sanders is great. Sanders is a great character, so of course Sanders makes it. Then we have Lorenzo versus Laurie, and I promised you that this would not continue. I promised that there would be at least one duo in which a character that makes it further doesn't necessarily get a higher placement, because I loved Laurie. The way that she snaps is fantastic. Laurie is comedic gold, and I absolutely adored the little arc that the vegans got in this season. They could have done so many fun story beats with these 2 animal lovers, and for the time that they're on the show, they make the most of it, but man, did I wish that these 2 would continue further. The reason that I keep Laurie and not Miles is because Laurie, in my opinion, carries the vegans. Miles is more of a background character reacting to the stuff that Laurie is going through, especially with the way that Laurie gets bullied towards the end. That was a bit harsh. I didn't really like that, but then again, it was handled pretty funny. So yeah, Laurie gets to continue for me here. This is, I'm not gonna say it. I'm challenging myself to not say I really like anymore. But I sincerely enjoyed Laurie's character. Then we have Carrie versus... I looked it up just recently. This was Mickey, right? Carrie versus Mickey? Yeah, Carrie. Carrie's very cute. Carrie is super endearing. Mickey is awful. I really didn't like the... I can say that. Really didn't like. That's something I'm not saying a lot. At least I think. But I really didn't like the Adversity Twins. Then we have Brody versus Devin. I think this is the hardest one up until now, because both of these characters have something that makes them great. I think I'm going for Devin, because Devin, in my opinion, has a great arc. I really enjoyed the best friends lovers story arc, even though it did take a little too long. I also really enjoyed that they didn't win. You can watch my Ridonculous Race review if you are curious to that. I think Devin is very likable, very rootable. I think his dynamic with Carrie is fantastic, and they did drag it on a little bit too long, but then again, it was fun to watch. So Devin gets to move on. And then Brody's very funny, but Brody also has some moments of which I think he isn't that great, especially in his relationship with MacArthur. I did not like it, and I especially did not believe it. I didn't think there was any attraction between Brody and MacArthur. I couldn't get into it. Nope. And Jeff on his own is already a great character, so Brody really feels like a character designed because Jeff needed a partner. And he's great, but Devin is also great, and then it becomes nitpicking between the two, and then I'm going with Devin. On to round 2. We have 16 characters left, and we are about to make that 8. We start with Jose versus Jay, and I already said it, Jose wins this. Not just because Jose is awesome, but also because Jay is far from awesome. Like, both of these characters, Jay and Mary, had no shot of making it any further than round 2. And when put against Jose, that's not a contest. That's easy. Emma versus Crimson. This is the point at which I'm going to eliminate Crimson, because I really enjoy Emma for the same reasons as I said before. And I am very lukewarm towards Crimson. Crimson has great moments in the show, but Crimson also has very not great moments in the show. Between the two of these, Emma is superior in every regard, I think. And we have Dwayne versus MacArthur. I already kind of foreshadowed that I didn't like MacArthur all that much, but that I think she's better than Spud. And when put against Dwayne, hilarious, humorous, comedy gold versus kind of funny, kind of annoying at times. That's gotta be Dwayne. Then we have Ryan versus Kitty. Ooh, this is a tough one, but I think I'm gonna go with Kitty. Kitty is such a multi-dimensional character in this show. She's funny, she's witty, she has great development. You want to root for her, you want to love her for the being that she is, because Kitty is so pure and so fierce, and I don't know, Kitty is so many things, and Ryan is very enjoyable, but also gets stuck in a couple of very annoying scenes. Like, Ryan himself isn't all that good either. Stephanie is far more annoying than Ryan is, but Ryan himself can also get pretty caught up in the moment, especially early Ryan. Later Ryan kind of lets it go, but beginner Ryan is just as annoying as Stephanie. And Kitty, well, I really like Kitty. Okay, next up we have Ennui versus Rock. And as much as I like Rock, I would feel bad not letting Ennui win this, because I also think that Ennui is a character that you very much want to root for, and Rock, at the end of the day, is really standard of a character. It's absolutely his dynamic with Spud that makes them stand out the most, but other than that, Rock is not really a character we haven't seen before. In fact, he's kind of comparable to Beardo, if I may say that, only Beardo was, of course, a lot worse. But in the same way that they both keep making sound effects, it's maybe a stretch. But anyway, the difference between these two is that Rock feels like a main character, but ultimately isn't. And Ennui doesn't feel like a main character, but ultimately is. So yeah, I have to hand this one to Ennui. Even though I really enjoyed Rock's time on the show, Ennui is the better character out of these two. Then we have Chet versus Jacques. This is not a difficult one again, because Jacques is super enjoyable, and Chet continued because Elodie. Chet is okay. I mean, the stepbrothers are a very fun duo, but the stepbrothers are very much a one-trick pony, and Jacques is very multi-dimensional in his evil. Both Jacques and Jose are. So this is not a really hard one. This is Jacques. And we have Sanders versus Laurie. And I think I'm going to give this one to Laurie, actually. I enjoy Sanders quite a lot. But I also think Sanders had her annoying moments. A lot less than MacArthur, mind you. But still, Sanders was sometimes a pretty annoying character to watch. Her do-goody attitude sometimes clashed a little with the tempo of the show. Like, when Sanders is the badass, then that's fine by me. Then I really enjoy Sanders as a character. But when Sanders is being offended by MacArthur's behavior, that's the part at which you lose me. And Laurie, like I said with Lorenzo, I really enjoyed Laurie's time on the show, and the arc that she's gotten from simply being one of the most peaceful people to completely snapping. I don't know, it's a very good arc, in my opinion. It's very funny. And then finally we have our first duo battle. I was wondering if we were going to see one of these. Carrie versus Devin. Out of these two, I think Carrie, because Carrie feels less like the character that they didn't know how to fill the required screen time for. With Devin, they had to fill it with the 7 stages of grief, and then they had to swap that so that Devin now loved Carrie. And with Carrie, it kind of felt like she always had something to do. She could always react to what Devin was doing. And at the point that Carrie wasn't interested in Devin anymore, she got a very interesting dynamic and even kind of a romance-bromance type with Ryan. So yeah, Carrie gets to continue for me. Devin was a great character. Carrie was a great character. But ultimately, between these two, I think my personal preference goes to Carrie. We move on to the quarterfinals. Oh, these battles are getting very difficult. First, we have Jose versus Emma. I think I am going to go with Jose. Emma, overall throughout the season, is fantastic. I really dig her moments with Noah. I really dig Emma as a character herself. I really dig Emma's relationship with Kitty as well, but Emma had a few annoying moments here and there, most notably in the beginning, but also towards the part where she gets obsessed with Noah again, and then has to drop Noah for the competition, but then also claims that they will only date if she wins and not if they win. that's not the stuff that I really enjoyed about this character. And Jose, I think, is a very human villain. Jose starts out as this very one-dimensional villain type character. No, that's not true. Jose starts out as this, who are these guys? Am I actually watching two ice dancers duke it out right now? What are these guys doing here? This is such a weird niche of stereotypes to include in this race. And then they become the villains, and it gets kind of obvious why they're here. They really want to win, and in a race where everything is about winning, that's just very obvious that these guys are going to do whatever it takes to win. But then we are also presented with these kinds of flaws in Jose's character that I really appreciate we got a chance to see. We know of Jose that she is superstitious. We know of Jose that she's claustrophobic. We know a lot of the backstory that happened between Jacques and Jose and in Jose's past. And I really enjoy when a character is this flashed out. So out of these two, even though Jose has more moments where you want to see her get eliminated, I really have to go with Jose here. Okay, then we have Dwayne versus Kitty. And again, this is a very tough one because I think Dwayne is funnier, but Kitty is better. First time watching, I was really rooting for Dwayne and Junior to win. And that was mostly because of Dwayne, because I think Dwayne as a character is super fun idea. He's the dad with the bad dad jokes. He thinks of himself as the greatest human being on earth, and he wants to present that image to his son as well. He just wants to be liked by his son. Because of that, creates very uncomfortable scenarios for Junior. It's a stereotype that we're all used to, and it's very well handled in the Ridonculous Race too. But then again, you really feel for Dwayne as he's caring for Junior, and you want him to succeed in that image. Like, you want to say to Junior, oh, come on, man, give your old man a chance. I really enjoyed Dwayne. I'm not saying I really like. I'm not saying it. I greatly enjoyed Dwayne. But then we have Kitty. I had struggles explaining why I like Kitty so much earlier. Because there's so much. She's the whole package. As relatable and as likable and as fantastic as Kitty is, I think I have to owe this one to younger me. Because I was really rooting for Dwayne to win. My appreciation for Kitty started a lot later. It was on a second or third rewatch that I started to appreciate other characters, but my love for Dwayne has always been there. I think Dwayne is a very funny and a very different contestant. That's also a good point. Dwayne is a completely different contestant from what we are used to on the show. Meanwhile, Kitty, I mean, if Kitty would have been introduced with any of the previous generations, that I would totally believe. Well, maybe not Pocket 2 Island, because she's written too good for Pocket 2. But Dwayne, no way. Dwayne really fits the Ridonculous Race. And since we're doing a Ridonculous Race review, I guess it's not really fair to just compare on that basis, but I love both of these characters equally. And then it is basically a coin flip between these two. And that coin flip lands in favor of what younger me would have said. So Dwayne gets to continue. Then we have Ennui versus Jacques. I see a pattern here in that Jacques has no trouble beating whatever comes in his way. And it's the same here. I enjoyed the Goths, but nowhere as much as other people do. I think the Goths can be a little contrived from time to time, while Jacques, exactly the same thing I said for Jose. He is very flashed out as a character. I enjoy the fact that Jacques is a comedic relief character as well as the main villain of this show. That's a dynamic that you don't really get to see anywhere else. And I think they really capitalize on the fact that there's two characters in this duo that both get to share the villain spot. Because it allows one to be more evil, which is in this case Jose, and the other to be a little more schemy, evil laugh, Max-like villain, so to say. I mean, Jacques is a lot more evil than Max is, but he does get more of the physical humor that Max also gets. Jacques and Jose just work flawlessly off of one another. And I was so rooting for them. I said this in my review of the Ridonculous Race as well. When I was rewatching the Ridonculous Race, I was rooting for the ice dancers. And I knew that they wouldn't get eliminated. But still, every episode, I was hoping that these guys wouldn't drop out. Which is absurd, because I know they won't drop out. They became third. It was written in the stars from day one that these guys would get third place. And still, I had this feeling of, oh, I don't want to lose the ice dancers just yet. They are so much fun to watch. Yeah, I have to give this to Jacques, because I so enjoyed Jacques on the show. And then we have Laurie versus Carrie. And of these two, I praised Carrie a lot, but I think I praised Laurie more, and that is deserving, because also here Laurie gets to continue. When the vegans were introduced to this show, I thought it was going to be a one-off joke, right? They would do all the jokes that they could think of with vegan characters, make them eat flesh, make them despise it, make them animal lovers, etc. And then once you've done all your jokes, you get rid of them. Second boot, third boot, something like that. And they didn't get a lot farther than that. I mean, they got fourth, which is purely because we had a lot of duos that we had to eliminate also. But in the, I believe, 6 episodes that the vegans are on the show, they get this entire arc, which goes from exactly the stereotype that I thought they would have to this entire change in almost like religion, and it was fantastic. I'm having a hard time of expressing why I loved it so much, but rest assured, I really loved it. And Carrie, I really enjoyed Carrie, but I also had this feeling of, oh no, these guys are gonna win. And the worst part about the Ridonculous Race is going to be that I already know who is going to win from episode 1. So I got less invested because it felt more like a formality as a sort. It felt like an inevitability that they would be here for the long haul. Meanwhile, Laurie didn't get to be here for the long haul, but I was really hoping that she would. And so we make it to the semi-finals with 4 characters. And of course, the ice dancers are here. Both of them, because the ice dancers are fantastic. And Dwayne is here, of course, because Dwayne is fantastic. And I really enjoy that Laurie gets to be here too, because I really want to give some appreciation to this fantastic character. Let's start with Jose versus Dwayne. I'm having a hard time with this, because both of these characters are not perfect. Jose ultimately is still the villain of this show. And like with my previous 2 brackets, I also had villain characters that made it pretty far. And from those characters, I also said they are not my most liked character, right? If I ask myself the question, who's your favorite character, I'm not gonna think of Jose, even though I really enjoyed the ice dancers. So I think this battle is won by Dwayne, because I got really invested in both of them. I can really laugh about both of them, but at the end of the day, I'm not gonna call Jose my favorite character, and I will consider calling Dwayne that. And then we have Jacques versus Laurie. I mean, Laurie's had a good run, but she isn't able to beat Jacques. There's no way. There's no way Laurie can beat Jacques. Laurie is extremely fun for the 6 episodes that she gets to be on the show. And Jacques is extremely, extremely fun for the 26 episodes that he gets to be on the show. So, of course, I'm going to choose Jacques here.
This is not negotiable!
I don't know how many people of you got that reference. Anyway, Jacques gets to move on. Laurie, fantastic character. Jacques, super fantastic character. And he gets to be longer on the show. So yeah, he makes it through. And so we make it to our finale. Dwayne versus Jacques. I have a struggle at this moment, because I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of obvious, but the struggle I'm facing here is this. All the villain characters that made it to the semi-finals so far, I have excluded from the win because they would not be considered my favorite character. But with Jacques, I don't really see him as the villain character. I mean, that's not true. He is totally the villain, absolutely. But Jacques is so entertaining in his villain role that I'm really considering giving him the win here. And Dwayne has some annoying moments, but he's far more of a good guy. And yeah, who am I kidding? Dwayne has some issues in the show. Dwayne can be annoying from time to time. Jacques is it's just a feast to have him on screen. Every single scene with Jacques is just a little gift. So my winner for this list is Jacques. There you go, guys. That concludes the bracket of the final generation. Did you expect this outcome? I think some Ice Dancer enthusiasts might have. For this bracket in particular, I had no idea who was going to win it the most. There's a lot of good options to pick from. This quarterfinals, these 8 characters, that was a hard one to choose from. But ultimately, the win is for Jacques, and I think it's completely deserved. Anyway, did you agree with my list? Do you think somebody else should have been in the final 4? Let me know your opinions down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I thank you again for watching. This has been Silly Billy, and remember to check if the tattoo you're getting on your chin is actually for your gender. Houdoe!